Everybody set? I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, January 27th, 2015. We have a village board meeting followed by a committee of the whole. Looks like it's about 7:05 p.m. First item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sherby, can you please call the roll?
Present. Present.
Present.
Present.
Present, we do have a quorum. Janet, are there any presentations?
No, they're not.
Public comments and questions. To give as many visitors as possible an opportunity to speak, and in the interest of adjourning by 9 p.m., please limit your comments to 3 minutes in length unless further time is granted by the board. Any comments relative to active agenda or general matters that we may be able to answer? Anyone? Any comments? Any comments twice?
No.
Any comments? No? Okay, 3 times. Comments gone. Are there any public hearings?
No, there are
Guess not. Consent agenda. Let's see, we have items A through H. We have approval of the record of bills ending 1/22/2015 in the amount of $1,607,644.01. We have approval of the minutes of January 13th of the village board and committee of that date. Ordinance amending Chapter 5.36 Liquor Sale of Title V entitled Business License and Regulations of the Westchester Municipal Code. D, ordinance amending portions of Chapter 11.12 entitled Rules for Driving and Chapter 11.60 entitled Do Not Enter Streets of Title 11 entitled Vehicles and Traffic of the Westchester Municipal Code. Item E, ordinance amending sections 804-200 entitled Restrictions of Chapter 804 entitled Garbage and Waste of Title 8 entitled Health and Sanitation of the Westchester Municipal Code. Item F, resolution amending the newsletter advertising policy for the Village of Westchester in order to prohibit political advertisement and to add a disclaimer regarding advertising. Item G, resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with Christopher Burke Engineering for construction observation engineering services related to the 2015 street improvement project. We should probably have a dollar amount on that, right?
Yes.
Okay, it's $122,000. Okay, so we'll add that to the end. And a resolution authorizing the acceptance of a proposal from Rubino Engineering Incorporated for geotechnical services related to the 2015 street improvement project, and I imagine there's a money thing on that, $13,800. I guess my question, because I knew there was some questions last time around, I know we talked about Rubino, but is there, do we have to waive something to approve that?
If you want to remove that from the consent agenda in order to have discussion.
Oh, okay.
You can do that.
I just wanted to clarify it in case we did or didn't. So, you know what, let's, if we can, just remove H for a second. We may have to take some waiver of that. To approve that, I just want to make sure that we don't get turned back around on us. Okay, items A through G, because H is already pulled. Anybody want to pull anything?
So move. Oh, no.
Nothing?
Sorry. I
Is
thought
there
you
a
were calling
motion?
for the motion. I'm sorry.
Anybody want to move anything?
I made the motion.
Okay, Frank in the second.
Second.
Nikki. That
Yeah,
cabin
very.
must really be calling.
No,
Okay.
suitcase is calling.
Okay, there's a motion, a second on the floor to approve A through G. Roll call, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We're going to letter H. I just want to make sure that if we need to waive something to talk about that, we do it. Do we? Don't we?
Sam,
Was that included with the
It's
with
been
G?
built into the discussion of the resolution, if you refer to page 47 of your packet.
Okay,
The
so,
first paragraph
so we don't have to
indicates
do
we may
anything,
waive.
correct?
So you don't
Correct.
have to waive the count?
Section 8 of the Local Government Professional
Okay.
Services Selection Act has a It has a limit of $25,000.
Because it was the money.
And this is less than
Okay.
that.
I just wanted to be clear so everybody knows that we didn't waive anything inappropriately. Okay. Motion on the, motion is second for the resolution for Rubino for 13A. Motion
moved.
by Paul, and the second, Tommy? Any discussion on that? If not, sure be roll call.
Trustee Perry?
Aye.
Trustee Stecker?
Aye.
Trustee Yorkman?
Aye.
Trustee Carpagna?
Aye.
Trustee Metusa?
Aye.
President Fulia?
Aye, motion carries. Anything on the active agenda?
Nothing.
Nothing. Managers report.
Okay, just a couple of brief things today. First, if you want to call your attention to the screen, the staff would like to thank President Puglia. He recently spent a few weekends remodeling our lunch area, brought it up from the late 70s, I think, to the current time, and I also understand some artistic input is attributed to Mrs. Puglia. So it really looks great. The staff is really enjoying it, and wanted to extend thanks for that effort. Last week we had a ribbon cutting at Sherwin-Williams, and that went very well. So hope everybody will stop in and visit the store. It's a great-looking store, and the manager, Miguel Mondragon, is a great guy. So please shop there. Last thing I wanted to mention, and Chief Carpino and Chief Adams may have something to add, but we had the annual Celebrate Westchester Dinner and Awards Banquet last Saturday night at Alpine House, sponsored by the Chamber. And just wanted to give acknowledgement one more time to our village nominees, Aki and Rick Harris and Bridget Rowan, who have been 5-year volunteers at our Westchester Food Pantry. They were given their awards that evening, as well as some of our own. Our fire department received the Chamber Customer Community Service Award and received a free stretcher, and Chief will explain that to you when he gets there. And matching donation by Jeannie of Jeannie's Hair Company was very generous. Also, our School Resource Officer, Rob Verber, was named Man of the Year by District 92.5, so congratulations to all of them. And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you. Attorney's report.
No report, Your Honor.
Board members, EDC, Frankie.
Just still hammering out the details for the business luncheon that we're holding. And Pastor Mills will go over some stuff in the cow.
Great, thank you. Nikki, anything?
No, ETSB, it looks like we're going to be scheduling a meeting for February 9th. Go over some budget stuff. But we haven't solidified that with everybody yet, so we're looking at the 9th.
Great. Thank you. Polly, anything?
Well, one thing I have to report on, a little bit of bad news, but not really. Maybe you can make good news out of it. Got word from Regency Centers the last couple of days. They will not allow me to do the car shows at the lot anymore. So, big bummer for me and for the shopping center, because it was a wonderful show and we've always had some great turnouts and some great things. But where there's a will, there's a way. Reaching out to our friends over at the Greek Church, and hopefully they will allow us to move it up that way and continue it going. So, but as of right now, I do have it in writing that it will not be at the shopping center. So give me a couple of prayers, and hopefully I can persuade the people over at the Greek Church, who are dear friends of ours. They've been wonderful to this village and to all of us in it. And hopefully they'll have the kindness to say that we can continue with that. So keep posted on the website by Paul's, and also here in the paper here. Once I do get it all signed up, there'll be good ads in the newspaper for it, and you know, we'll publicize it as quickly as possible. But for the last 9 years, thank you all for your great support. I know I've seen many of you out there and enjoying it, and we're going to try to pull it off for the 10th year, for the 10th anniversary. So.
Great. I'm sorry to hear that, Paul. It was a fun show. Anybody that has a car or likes old cars, we're having a good time with that. Angelo?
Nothing tonight. We are meeting on the 12th, February. Last month was canceled due to weather. So we'll have something more next month.
Tomas? anything?
I have nothing. We haven't been able to meet the past couple of months.
Let's see. Chief Carpino, I'm sorry, Chief Carpino.
As the village manager stated, this past weekend, there was an event held at the Alpine with the Chamber and the Village Park District School District. And I had mentioned previous meeting that Officer Rob Verber, our school resource officer, was selected as the man of the year for the school district, and well deserved. He got a nice plaque, nice recognition. We're very proud of him for all the work he does at the police department, and especially with the schools. And it was a nice event, and the fire chief can explain the award that they received, and the stretcher, and a matching gift as well from another local business. We just finished up, literally in the last couple hours, our annual report, which is a comparison of 2013 to 2014. And as I believe it was Trustee Stecker just alluded to at the last meeting regarding the December report, there was a noticeable reduction in crime and an increase in arrests. So the actual numbers for the whole year are included here. We have just less than 2,000 hours of training for all the personnel, both sworn and civilian. It's all documented, what training they attended, how many hours. Very thorough report. It covers everything that we do at the police department. We'll be going through more of that again. In addition to the goals, I listed some accomplishments. So it's all spelled out. We'll probably have similar goals and objectives included in the budget hearings. We'll get to that in April, in the 15-16-year budget. As I spoke of a few meetings ago about the recent events in Ferguson and in New York regarding the relationships of communities and law enforcement officers. After 9/11, the police were heroes, and all of a sudden, the police are bad guys from a couple incidents that were highly publicized. It's like the media is still looking and searching for people that are involved in incidents between the police and arrests and shootings and things of that nature. But if you watched the news last night, shortly after a police officer was sworn in a small town in Minnesota, some crazed gunman walked up on a village board meeting about 10 minutes after the officer was sworn in as a police officer, and he was shot. One of the aldermen or trustees that were on the board, if you watch the video from last night, he's a sworn officer from the Minneapolis St. Paul Police Department. He's an active member of their board. He told all the board members to take cover. He pulled out his pistol, and they all hid under the dais while some nut was out in front of the village hall shooting cops, one of which was just sworn in. Unfortunately, the media likes to show the other side of it. Got an officer that was on the job less than an hour, shot. He survived. Bad guy was killed. It's sad. So I don't care where you're at, what community you're at, where you go. There's things happening now. It's just more and more televised, and the media is really on it. Unfortunately, after 40 years on the job, they're showing more than the negative side of cops than the positive side. With that, we do have some training scheduled for our officers. It's going to be mandatory in February and in March for cultural diversity training. It's going to be put on by Dr. Tiffany Sanders. She has a PhD. She has a business in the village, diverse business solutions, an office on an enterprise. I met her shortly after I started working here last year. She's active with the chamber, so and her father's in law enforcement. So I think it's a good fit that she puts on this presentation for us when we pay her. She's going to be reasonable on price, local business. But in addition to that, we're going to have training on dealing with mentally challenged individuals, which is something that police officers need to read the signals of people they're dealing with, and we deal with people anywhere from manic depressive to bipolar to whatever. So in addition to the cultural diversity issue, we're going to have this other training. Won't be any overtime involved because of the way the schedule goes. The officers only so many hours a year for training, so we'll be attending this mandatory training doing their CPR recertifications and whatever else on the same days. So that's scheduled in the very near future. I'm gonna hand the report out at the end of the meeting, so as always, if you have any questions, there'll be a copy available at the village hall, if someone wants to FOIA. There's nothing to hide, it's all the statistics along with the police department. And I'm available for questions from any resident or anybody in the community has a question about the report. And if you have any questions, or you don't want to, don't have time to contact me between now and that board meeting, just stand available for the board meeting, I'll be able to answer any questions.
Thanks, Chief, and thanks for the proactivity of those issues that you've enumerated.
As mentioned twice already, I would like to thank the Chamber of Commerce once again for the community, for the paramedics being recognized for our community service award. And again, a thank you to them for the $600 donation for a reeve stretcher, which we kind of demonstrated the other night. It's a pretty versatile tool that we use. And then Jeannie Helgeson from Jeannie's Hair matched that, so we ended up getting 2 for each of the ambulances, which with the shape that you saw the other night of the equipment we had, I was sure could use it. Finally got the first time in fire department history we have annual physical scheduled, March 16th, 17th, and 18th. This will be good. This will be getting our fit for duty letters that we should be doing annually with our respiratory tests as well, and SCBA mask fit testing. And the building and fire code update, Melissa's not here, but we're finally wrapping that up as well. Hopefully in February we'll be presenting the building and fire code changes in the COW, so we can get that pushed through.
Just a question, since you brought it up here. If you can recall, in September the 9th, you afforded us a list of a bunch of buildings that were non-compliant. There was 33 of them. You have churches, schools, public schools, business, other. There was 33 total. I was online today trying to find I guess it was a 2005 ordinance or something that was set up that required some drop dead date of August 14th, 2014 as far as sprinklers, based on square footage and that. I would like to know, since you brought it up, where are we with those 33?
Those are built into the code with the churches and schools. With any, it's going to be from this point forward, any major additions or ownership changes, they'll have to bring up the code as far as sprinklers go, and there'll be a push for also built into the code to get fully alarmed, at least fully alarmed buildings in all those cases.
Okay, so it begs to ask the question of, if this was passed in 2005, what did any of these people do, or these places do, that now we're going to be given more time? We've almost given 15 years to do something. What has any one of these done?
I would have to look at that and get back to you.
I mean, it's your list.
Right. I don't have my list with my notes on it in front of me, so I can answer that.
Okay. Pass that down, though, just for your reference, so you don't have to hunt. Again, I'm sure that there were businesses from 2005 that were forced to comply to the rules of the village since then. We're almost 15 years out, and a whole bunch didn't, and all of a sudden, we're going to potentially change the rules and eliminate ones that didn't, but we have ones that did, that theoretically could maybe not have to do it now, that wasted it. You know what I mean? That had to spend money because we forced them to. So you potentially have 33 skaters here, is what you're saying.
Well, part of that discussion we had that night as well was that some of the churches, the schools especially, couldn't afford this, and it would be a great burden on them, possibly to the point of them closing their doors.
And trust me, I don't want to, it's not what I'm advocating. However, I'd like to know what any of them did to, if anything, from 2005 till now, or was it a snub?
Again, I have this exact thing with notes on it. I don't have that in front of me.
No. Okay. I'll be interested in looking at the new requirements, because there should have been fire alarms, there should have been all kinds of things that were done in the meantime that were probably part of the old code. Correct?
And I agree with you, yes.
But again, the village never followed up with probably any of these to make sure that there was a timeline to get something done.
In some cases, and I don't know all, and like you said, there's some cases that we went to SMG, we had fire alarms that were coming into our board at that time, and to 911. So there was some boxes. I remember when I was in Rosemary's building, we had a box in there from SMG or whatever from fire alarm that went directly here too. So we had some sort of fire protection in these buildings. That's what it was. Then we switched to SMG, but I mean, those are things that were there, Sam.
But here, let me just enumerate here. There's a list of 33 here, and out of that, there's no fire alarm on 1, no fire alarm on 2, no fire alarm on 3, no fire alarm on 4, none on 5, none on 6, none on 7, none on 8, none approved on 9, none on 10. 11 has something, has an old system, nothing on 12. Nothing on 14, nothing on 16, nothing on 17, nothing on 18, nothing on 20, nothing on 21, nothing on 22. I mean, you go down the list. There's maybe 5 that have done anything. You pass this on? So, I mean, do we have to wait till Our Lady of Angels fire or a business to burn down where, you know, I would think that we would be at risk at some point because we passed an ordinance that required something and we weren't diligent in making sure that it was done. And then all of a sudden, someone's going to come back and say, by the way, you passed this in 2005, but you really didn't do diddly with this. And not that we're going to be liable in a sense of the issue. You can talk in the open meeting piece. But again, here we are. We're here again. Just like the sign ordinance that was passed in '87 that nobody did nothing with until now we are at 16. Why don't we just abolish all this and say, forget about it? Because we have no intention of enforcing anything. Not one. So how much time are we going to give? Going to give another 2 years, another 5 years, another 10 years? Or we're going to have to answer that as the president of the village if something happens, that why didn't you follow your own ordinance and make sure that this got done? We have the most piss-poor follow-through on things in this village that I've ever seen in my life. So, go ahead, Jim, I'm done. Are you done? Maureen?
Just to bring you up to speed with some things going on.
In the finance department, the vehicle stickers have been ordered. The letters will be going out at the end of February. Sales will commence on March 1st and will continue on through the end of April. Starting on May 1st, the cost of the vehicle sticker will be double if you do not renew it in time. For many of you who've checked your mail today, you may have noticed you received your property tax bill from the county. I will be preparing an article for the next newsletter detailing where your tax monies go for the village. Also, I just want to remind everyone that the property taxes are due March 3rd. Also, budget season is just ahead of us. By the end of the week, I wanted to send out a calendar to the board announcing the dates, but just as a heads up,
At the last Tuesday in February and March 3rd
with what departments will be covering at each meeting in more detail.
Great, thank you. Gregory?
Yes, at the last meeting, I briefly described how I was going to be meeting.
I got plenty of them.
Paul,
Meeting with the school.
You just pull the battery out of your pocket or
keep
something?
batteries on
I
you?
think he does. He's got them. But
I think my heart rate is right.
Your pacemaker?
Right voltage and everything? Like just
Give him one out of the
on your
reserve out
belt?
of my heart.
He's got a charging pack on his belt.
Right. Yeah, it's like Batman.
That's Paul's battery backup. Yeah.
yeah,
He's got a lantern battery in it.
I need a AAA over here. If you got it. What do you got? Jeez.
yeah. I mentioned how last time we had a meeting with the school, Officer Verber, myself, and some of the administrative staff of the school sat down. I was able to explain everything about the previous discussions we had with regards to a network that would encompass the entire town. But unfortunately, they had an emergency that they were dealing with at that time, and I was able to speak my side. But when I was looking for the rebuttal on where they were, I didn't really get an answer. So they had to leave the meeting and handle an emergency that was going on in the school. So I've been advised that I'll be spoken to shortly. So hopefully the next meeting or during that time, I'll speak to the village manager, village president, and update you on the status of how the schools are with regards to that. But one thing I did learn, though, is that the schools are taking a proactive approach to security. Officer Verber is providing them with information and having them look a little bit further into the future with regards to their security spending on the school. Both cameras, security access, and things of that nature are being looked at. They're putting together a 5-year plan to be able to afford the things that in the past that they either just pushed to the side or didn't really think about. So again, Officer Verber is doing a great job in explaining that, the needs that they should be thinking about, and that'll be going to their board in the very near future. And as I said, as soon as I get some more information, I'll get back to you on that. That's all I have.
Thank you, Greg. Robert?
At our last board meeting, we had discussed LED street lighting, and I have on your desk before you a proposal from Mead Electrics. The proposal that we got from them outlines a process that we can use to identify why the lights are going out and how to fix them. And when considering this proposal, really think we need to look at where this process goes from here. Once we discover why the lights are out, whether it's a component failure or a manufacturing defect or something in the power supply, we really need someone that has the expertise that's done these kind of bench tests and studies. And Mead has done this for IDOT in looking at problems they had when they first put out their LED traffic signals. And they did a lot of bench testing for them because they had components that failed. So they've done this type of testing before. We also need a firm that has credibility. They're one of the larger electrical contractors in the Midwest. And the size and capacity of a firm that can sit next to us, if need be, to face companies like Philips Electronics, Commonwealth Edison, and has the credibility to stand and talk to their experts and tell them, no, that's not right, this is what we think happened. So when considering that proposal, we looked at considering proposals from other firms that might be local or smaller, and I just think we need someone of this size and capacity to really assist us in this endeavor. It's an unusual type of failure. We don't quite know what the mechanism is, but they've outlined a really rigorous process here that at a fairly reasonable cost. The proposal starts at about $4,000, could be up to $10,000 if we have to test multiple circuits. And I feel this is the right methodology and one of the better firms in the Midwest to help us with this endeavor. So what I'd ask your permission to accept this proposal from Mead and waiver the requirement to get 2 other bids to consider this. And looking for a company of the size and the capacity and the expertise to do this type of work. And I especially am drawn toward their expertise helping IDOT resolve their problem with component failures in their system. What we would do is, if you approve, we would proceed forward with this contract and have approvals at the next board meeting.
Robert, how many fixtures are they proposing looking at?
At the first phase, we'll take out 10 components from, all the components from 10 lights, where we'd have the drivers, the converters, and the LED panels. We've got all those in a box. We've got about 75 of them. We'll match them all up, and they said statistically they can prove just using 10 if there's any component failure on any of the pieces. There's a manufacturer's defect that will point us in one direction. With the circuits, we're going to work with them on, we would produce a scatter map looking at physical location to see if we got any hot spots where we've got more trouble in one circuit or the other, and we would start with that circuit. Say we have 20 lights on circuit Q. There's 20 total circuits with all the 705 lights. Some have up to 60 lights on them, some have a dozen. So we would look for the troublesome most circuits and begin with those. Those are most likely to indicate what the problem is. So hopefully it's one, maybe two circuits that we test.
And due to the fact that Mead Electric, like you said, is a larger, more renowned company, you feel that their findings will hold up better when we go back to the manufacturer or anybody to say, hey, this is what we found. We went, we went to a private source. We didn't, wasn't done in-house. Mead Electric, we didn't go to Joe's electrical house and, have it.
Well, yeah, there's, Joe's Electric might be a good company, and but would they face Commonwealth Edison with their PhD in electronics and
Right.
go toe-to-toe with them? And I posed that to the senior vice president for Mead, the man that wrote the proposal, Chuck Anderson. I had him work on a number of very unique lighting projects when I was up in Wilmette. He thinks it's a cool project, would like to really help us out. The price is right, and he's not afraid of going up against those guys, and whether it's giving testimony in court or
That's
writing
what
a
I'm getting
letter
is
or
that,
meeting head-to-head with these people.
Spend all the money, do all the research, and then, find out that it really didn't help us. We know, but we can't use it.
Well, one of the caveats he said is, we do this study, we'll write the report. It might be your system that's at fault. Are you ready for that? I said, we want to know what's wrong so we can fix it, pure and simple.
Right.
Whether it's Commonwealth Edison or a component manufacturer or the installer installed it wrong or our system is just not up to standard. We want to know what it is. He said, we're going to write the
Absolutely.
report. Good or bad, you're going to get it. So.
Nikki, question.
I was just wondering what the status was of our claim and if any of this testing might impact.
We need the results of the testing in order to move forward with the claim,
Okay,
to
so
prove
it's kind
that
of-
there was a defect in the components.
Okay, I just
Then
didn't
it'll
know
be that whole thing?
the outcome of that would it would
Right.
dictate.
The direction we take.
Right.
Okay.
That why a
Fixing
more
these lights in the
nationally
bulb every
recognized company ultimately is
Oh,
going to
sorry.
impact if Irma pursues it, if we pursue it through our legal. But we have to have an assertion that those components were damaged.
Okay, that's all. I was just
After last meeting, I went in the back and took a light head and a ballast. I called UL in Northbrook, was shipped to Washington State. I had several conversations with UL, and UL does not test third-party centers. So if I sent him any of the lights, 1, 2, 3, or whatever, he could not test them. He recommended private concerns. I went on the internet, I gave Robert all kinds of testing materials or whatever, and Robert developed the Mead. Now, let's back up. We talked about putting together some type of plan to test certain circuits. All of them. Okay? I don't know what GNP tested. I know they replaced things. They put fuses in poles. We have 800 and some lights. I don't know how, I know they're all fused as far as going to the control boxes, but apparently the recommendation was to fuse them at the poles as well. I don't know if they're not working there or whatever the case may be. All this is great. I certainly want them tested. I certainly want to know if component X was bad. We can go back and say, hey, component X is bad. We can get a credit, get payment, get something, sue them, do whatever we have to do to recover some kind of damage. All that being said, since November, I've outlined several lights that are out. I'm sure that if I drive there tonight after the meeting, them same ones are out. They've probably been out since June. When were they replaced? When did they blow out again? We still need to get those 4 or 5 fixed. And again, you all know I'm in a bad mood. You know it. But this is the kind of stuff that drives me crazy. The lights are still out 2 weeks later. And you know what? If I get the high boy, I will crawl up there myself and test it at the boulevard where one half works and the other half doesn't, and run 2 wires to the bottom if need be. It shouldn't take weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to fix 5 lights. Now, if we fix them 5 lights and they blow again, then okay, we know we have a problem. Let's get them all working first. This stuff that we're testing, this is old school stuff. Can't we get all of them to work at one point in time and then go along with our tests and wait for the next situation? Or do these people on the blocks that I've enumerated have to go without street lights till next June when it's dark? We've had ample time to fix this. I don't care what anybody says, but they're not fixed. And I'm tired of talking about it, and you're tired of hearing it. Get them fixed. The testing is something aside from that. We have hundreds of lights to test, don't we? Even the working ones. Aren't we testing them? Isn't that part of the plan? What are we doing with the ones that are out? Are we just going to say, oh, whatever. Let's put a flashlight up there that goes on and off. Let's put a solar light on it where it doesn't have to have power. I mean, what are we doing?
Your contract didn't specify spare parts, so we don't have spares in Public Works. We can't replace them. We're relying on GNP to replace them. Okay? So
I guess we just let them out.
That's why we don't go and replace them, Sam.
No. You know what? At this point in time, I'd go put the old ones back up.
We could do that.
And at least get them lights. Oh boy, rocket scientism. Anything else from PW? Jessica, are you subbing for Melissa, or are you just taking notes? I know, you don't want to even be here. Me neither. Sherby, anything? Okay. You don't want to hear my report. Executive session, I'm going to ask for one for 5 Ilix 122C1, discuss appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body. I'm going to call for one after our committee of the whole. If nothing else, is there a motion, a second, to adjourn the board meeting?
So moved. Second.
Who got?
Paul and Nick.
Paul and Nick. All those in favor of adjourning our board meeting, say aye.
Aye.
And the opposition, say no.